Hello. Let's see if this is working. Well, hello. Yep. Let's see if this is. Oh yeah, good. So while I'm waiting for anyone popping up, what can I say? It's been it's been a bit of a week, but the good surprise about it is I'm not holding a phone in my hands anymore. I'm finally streaming from my new laptop. Hey, hola, señor. Hate one. Just started uh, celebrating streaming from the new laptop. Hands free and shit. Um, so yeah, that's for my second anniversary of YouTube. Finally, I get to improve my streaming capabilities. How are you doing, man? So I don't have anything much really to specifically talk about. Just basically happy that I have a working laptop finally. The big surprise is basically the fact that people can now send me an email, and my website is soon gonna work. I'm not sure if I managed to fix the certificate issues, but here's the domain in the chat. Yeah, I finally have a laptop. So that means that I can also get to work. Right now I'm still in Amsterdam. Tomorrow I'm gonna go and speak to another harbor. Fingers crossed. Not too far from here. So approximately New Amir. Yeah, it's not exactly for free. I just got it in a sense that first I got to keep it and test and make sure it's all working because it was already causing me some problems from the start. And then I pay for it, not too much, in 2 installments. So that's good. Thanks, one. Um, yeah, I really hope it's not just gonna be lucky, but long term working out this time. I know that for the time being, it's kind of like until 1st of October, then I guess I'll be looking at parking the boat at least somewhere safely for the winter time. And I'll see. For now, I've had a couple of offers to stay around a few places for the winter, so that's okay. At least it's not gonna be freezing cold and dangerous like last winter. That's for sure. Um, yeah, and what can I say for the rest? Um, in October, I've got the court coming up for that self-defense case. I must say, for now, I'm I think I'm in good hands when it comes to my defense and my lawyer, so that's great. social services, child protective services, still not much further activity going on. I didn't see my kids for over 2 months, I think. Um, so it's gonna be the first time I can see them. It's probably gonna be quite emotional for me, I guess. Um, and then I don't know what's gonna be the story with that. Still hard to say. So yeah, slowly making progress. Now that I have a laptop, I guess I can also look forward to start applying for more jobs and stuff like that. Of course, I'm gonna see within the next couple of weeks. Also, how I physically feel, because recently it's been quite a bit of an up and down period, and again because of all this stuff. So yeah, I would say difficult is an understatement, really. I can't describe. I don't know. Hard to say because the kids are little, especially the youngest one. So in 2 months, many things can change. Like they can even practically forget you in the meantime. So yeah, I don't have any idea what's going on. Nobody tells me anything. It's a bit. Even with my first child, it wasn't like that. I was at least always able to see him and talk to him whenever I wanted to. This is very different. Yeah, agonizing, I guess. Yeah, that would be probably the right word. Yes. If if I let's say if I could at least know what's going on with them and still not see them, I think it would be a little bit better. At the end of the day, well, what changed with me is like that I stopped praying for this kind of people and I stopped thinking nicely of them. I've given them more than a few opportunities to talk and correct their behavior, beginning with my ex-partner. If they wanted to continue with exactly the same type of behavior after 3 or 4 different meetings, I think only God can help them, because personally I decided to leave them all alone, but that usually means mm, that I must ask karma in the universe to leave them alone for me if they want to live without severe consequences. I wish my kids were older so they could just decide for themselves what they want to do. The oldest one from my first marriage is 16, so if he wanted to, decide to, of course, I wouldn't let him come and live with me now, but in better circumstances, if he wanted to decide to come and live with me and stuff, it would be easy does it. So I'm gonna have to wait a minimum of 8 years or more for that kind of stuff. When it comes to fighting this system here or whatever, it's not that I give up, but I don't think I'm rich enough to actually have a not just one, but the way I counted, I think about 3 to 4 different lawyers, unless there's one so freaking good in family, social work, and all that kind of stuff. And then there's also medical treatments such as couples therapy and psychological therapy. So yeah, maybe a different subject. Today I was watching a video about internet getting shut down in Bangladesh recently, um, due to the protests and political stuff, and consequently I found out that, for example, to my surprise, UK has an ability that if the government decides that there is too much danger, such as cyber attack or whatever they could come up with, they could also shut down the internet, which is surprising for a country that is democratic and such. So I'll try and find out how many of the European countries have the same power, because don't forget that UK once used to be in EU and these laws were accepted before Brexit. Um, Not so long ago, I've said, probably in one of the videos, that freedom of speech and fighting for the internet to be a basic human right is going to be very important. And I'm starting to believe it's becoming a lot more important um, today, not just to discuss, but to actually take action and press on the fact that access to internet should be a human right. Because within less than 5 years from now, I think my words will be proven quite right. And we will see how basically it doesn't matter whether it's commercial company or government that is not democratic. We will all experience the same kind of stuff. Um, Luckily, I'm smart enough to know already what to do and what happens if the governments shut down the internet and prevent us from communicating with each other and sharing what we know. So there's always alternatives, which for some are quite technically a little bit tough to manage. Having said that, I've been following a website called Odyssey, so that's my backup for all the YouTube. So if I ever lose the YouTube channel, it's automatically synchronized to my profile on Odyssey. So when my new website is gonna be a bit more organized and managed, there's gonna be links to all of that stuff. And I will appreciate the people to sign up, because number one, what they decided recently is they will have no more advertisements on their website, which means hello, no more ads, and hello free speech, and hello blockchain, because all of the videos there and all of the data is stored on the blockchain, so the only person that can delete it is myself and no one else. So eventually I would appreciate most of the people watching this, and I'll keep repeating it for a while, that we start focusing on other profiles of mine and figure out that YouTube is going to be a secondary channel of mine. Because to me it's important to be able to talk really freely about what I want to talk. YouTube, I've already achieved enough of criteria to fully monetize my channel and make money with it, and I've still decided not to, because yeah, I want to be able to talk, and I don't need to be someone as popular and famous as some of the other people, uh, but because I'm small and because I don't have a large support yet, I need to make sure that if anything happens to one of my channels, the rest of you people are gonna be able to understand where to find me. What's a ham radio? Oh, by the way, today I'm testing the automated captions by YouTube. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly. I'm watching a little bit, but not following how it's working. So, yeah. Yes, you people. I consider myself an alien, or at least, I don't know, different. A little bit different. Not special, not better. Just different. Idealist. Ham radio. It's an old school low frequency radio. Yeah. Well, it's all about understanding the radio frequencies for alternative, because it's not about just old school radios and stuff where you basically transmit an open radio signal to for anyone to listen to, but it's also we're also possible to connect, to have like a network of devices like mobile phones and laptops and computers with Wi-Fi systems. So if internet goes down, we can basically create an alternative network. It's a little bit tough to achieve sometimes, but let's say it's not really difficult to learn. All these kind of skills, like such as IT and technical stuff, are not really, they're not that difficult. I will take it for granted that not everybody can understand technical stuff and everybody not everybody can be good. But I do know that for a fact 80% of people can learn a lot of technical things that they don't even know and believe. I was teaching elderly people how to stay safe on the internet, and I'm pretty sure if those students were still alive these days, they would be much better at that than many of the Zoomers these days, because they've learned, even though stuff was pretty old back then, and it was much easier to hack. Um, those people were keen to learn, and because they were learning and realized that adaptability is the key to staying safe online, they were the ones that never needed to call an IT support for being hacked or scammed online, because they knew what was the key to avoid those things. So in the same principle, if old people could learn how to use internet without getting scammed and without clicking on too many ads by accident, I guess anyone can learn how to build their own networks, how to use the virtual private network or a VPN to stay secure online, all this kind of stuff. And in the same principle, the way kind of like networks work. So mesh networks is the main principle what people need to look into, and that's how it works. So you're connecting straight through many of the computers together, and that's basically what internet is. It's just some things work more complex than others. But yeah, in terms of broadcasting, radio is definitely still the best way to learn how things work. Of course, all the generations should work together. When I was a teenager, one of my best friends was a woman 95 years old. She survived First and the Second World War. Um, and you can learn a lot from people who have been through several decades, because they've seen massive changes and they can tell you how they were able to adapt, and also through their own failures and mistakes and all of this stuff we are all gonna have to learn And then when it comes to the younger generations, like when I look at my kids and stuff, they're really creative. They know stuff that even I feel like a bit. I mean, I don't feel offended if somebody calls me a bit of a grandpa, but they have a good argument behind it. The point is that, yeah, there's a lot we can learn from each other, young and old, and in between. So obviously, in my own belief and my own utopian idealism, is that all people should be focusing on solutions and collaborating, regardless of their own convictions and beliefs. Um, yeah, so one of my best students in computer use was 87-year-old guy who was recording weather changes with his pen on a paper um, for, I think, more than 60 years. And he wanted to find a way how to digitize all that data. Um, and he never really asked much for help other than his grandson. And then when things really needed to be replaced, like disks and hardware and stuff like that, that's when he was actually asking for help because he wanted it to be done correct. And he was always there observing and learning and stuff. So, and I must say, at his age, he was one of the liveliest people to jump and not walk or run, but literally jump across the stairs up and down. Um, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So old people have definitely a lot, even the kinds that may be already a bit demented or whatever. If you keep their memories entertained, you will definitely have stories that will mean a lot later in life. Um, and then, yeah, like I said, when it comes to young people, the kids, they find ways in doing stuff that even some of the smartest of us will just feel a little bit dumb and stupid when we see how they approach things from new perspectives and new angles, and also trying to understand how their brain works these days very different to ours, because at the end of the day these kids brains are literally raped by overload of information and overload of stimulations and all this kind of stuff. So as much as we, let's say, not just we as a Gen X, but most of us would look at them as like, oh, it's all so messed up and they can't focus, they can't do stuff, they can't learn, which is true. But this shit is not really their fault. So yeah, it's we need to try and understand and be more compassionate with the kids as well, because it's really not easy for them. At the end of the day, many of them just want to actually have the same things we wanted in the past, is like having a safe home. They want to be able to build families. They want to have a kind of the kind of the future that they can rely on. And even I remember in my 20s, I said, screw this shit, because it doesn't look like there is a prospect, and there was not really a lot to stay motivated for. And now, more than 20 years later, things only got worse. So I'm not really like, I agree with a lot of people who say it's like we can't be really pissed off about the Zoomers and the kids and stuff. I mean, why should we be? Because most of it is really not their fault, and it's not even the fault of their parents, because really we live in such complex times. Things are really changing so fast that even for people like myself who don't have a problem adapting to changes, and we like changes, we like the new gadgets, we like the new stuff, at some point it became like a bit too much. And for people who don't like that kind of stuff, that gets really way in over their heads, and it becomes difficult to handle, not just the world, but the emotions and yourself and all of that stuff. So it's important for the rest of us who have been already through a lot of tough shit to help others who are going through hard times, and many of them don't even know. They might be like living a really wealthy life, no problems, everything seems fine, but they still suffer from anxiety and depression, and they don't understand why, because either it's living a fake life, or having a bunch of toxic friends and a toxic family and stuff, and people just don't recognize because they got so used to normalizing all of abuse and toxicity that they don't know it, and they don't see that they need help. Of course, you can't help everybody, but at least you can try and point them to a certain direction, and then see if they can if they are trying to see things from a different perspective. It might work, it might not, but I think most intergenerational gaps are there only because people tend to fall into this division and sort of labeling contest. Yeah, Darwin was also an asshole, but yes, indeed, I don't think that the survival of the fittest and the strongest was his theory at all. It was really the most adaptable organisms, that's for one. Um, and when it comes to humanity itself, I think it's not so much about adaptability, because that's naturally given to us. We are the most adaptable species, not genetically, but otherwise. The catch is that we are too individualized these days, and we forgot about the importance of collaboration and being able to share with each other when it comes to and knowledge and information and everything, basically. So even I think even to a certain extent, intimacy among people is being attacked, because lately I see all sorts of um, not so sci-fi, but more or less already like we want this kind of stuff articles that are implying that we can have a reproduction of people without intimacy. Makes me think that really we might be here to exist only to reproduce in order to serve certain purposes that are not actually meant to serve us in retrospect and reciprocity. So, i.e., we are being enslaved one way or another in our minds as well. So, as if as a humanity we want to live happy, we have two choices. We either annihilate ourselves because it's not fun to live as a slave eternally, or we actually do what we can do to change it. Yes, community, not communism, but community. And yeah, we start helping others by helping ourselves and helping each other. So I think solidarity is a part that is most forgotten in any kind of concept of the structures of civilization, or well, yeah, even but when you look at the less civilized, yeah, tribes and stuff, the solidarity is actually the core of their existence, and some of them have survived even the Roman empires and shit like that. Makes you want to think. So yeah, it's kind of. I hope people will be more introspective and retrospective, in a sense of not just trying to look into their generational trauma and relationships and selfish purposes, but that we have a lot more to deal with when it comes to survival of humanity as a whole. Because I don't think it's so much how much are we also a danger to ourselves, but when we look at the grand scale of mass information and then misinformation, um, man-made climate change or solar cycles, the cosmic cycles and the cosmic weather and the flipping of the earth poles, because we're literally right in the middle of it. And I think and there's quite a few now not so mainstream recognized scientists, but I think there's gonna be more and more talk about it um, within our lifetime. Well, for most of us, I believe we're gonna get to see a lot of stuff happening in nature, and these red auroras and the weird sky signs happening. This is already the big, massive first sign of the fact that whatever is going to be happening within the next 5 decades is going to be really catastrophic. So, um, yeah, I definitely implore anyone watching this to look into that subject. Um, I have a playlist which is called Wake Up, and then the second playlist is called Team Humanity. So this is where I basically link up the kind of videos that speak about a lot of important subjects, important to me and in my opinion important to all of us. So yeah, Space Weather Life, that is a good website. I've been into cosmology and astronomy since I was, yeah, basically a child, reading the books about the universe, the solar system, the planets and stuff, wanted to understand how everything works and how we connect to it and relate to all of this stuff and the life on our planet. And it's interesting how back in the days we had all of this stuff in the school books. And now, if you talk about it, maybe as a scholar or an academic, you will actually lose your career. You will lose everything. And there are people who still, having lost their careers and their reputation in the academia and all this stuff, want to talk about it because, like myself, we know that we can't really change much. We can't really do much to change the future. But I really agree with one of these experts. Wait a second, I'm just gonna put the video in the chat while we're talking here. So you might just save it for yourselves and watch it later. So I fully agree with this guy when he's saying that he's doing this at least for the sake of when you die and you look at yourself and your consciousness and you say to yourself, you know what? I've done my best trying. I've I didn't just stand by and didn't do anything to object the manipulation and the lies of the media, the mainstream, the politicians, or I don't know, even the people around me. Um, that's one. And when it comes to drinking water, heavy chemicals, plastics, and then obviously the debate of the cosmic weather and the magnetic Earth, the Earth's magnetic pole shift. those were the kind of subjects that I always wanted to openly discuss, because at the end of the day, to me, it is important. I have the vision in my head of like maybe the humanity, or in another parallel timeline or another parallel universe, we've already succeeded this harmony, and not just on a global scale, but joining basically the galactic union or whatever it is, where we are freely communicating with other intelligent species and beings from the rest of the universe and stuff. Pretty simple, because we stayed or somehow reconnected back with the balance of nature and ourselves and stuff. To me, all of that's important. It's not just a dream. It feels so much more real than what we have now. Um, this 9 to 5 job and slavery, basically, for the rest of our lives has felt extremely unreal since ever I can imagine and was aware of myself. So, yeah, it's important to me to share that with whoever wants to listen and pay attention, because who knows? Maybe something good happens out of it. And if it doesn't, I tried. Well, look, most people think you're crazy, At the beginning, they say that you're crazy, they laugh at you and all of these things. Then they hate you, probably imprison you and whatnot, but in the end, you win. And it's not about winning, right? Every time I won, every time I was right, it also meant that millions died unnecessarily, referring to 2020 and the period after. And people are still trying to convince that would millions died and would have died more if there wasn't for simple medical experiments. Well, I believe that those millions that would have died and did die because they had no protection died because something was leaked out of a laboratory that shouldn't have existed in the first place, and it was clearly funded by the United States taxpayers' money illegally in the foremost place. So, and also people called me crazy when I said that. And I told them that I don't need evidence because it will prove itself throughout the time. If I could record myself back in the days, long time ago, I think I would probably be dead by now, or people would follow someone like me in a similar way like Jesus, but I kind of don't want that stuff. There's a lot of people, well, a lot, there's quite a few people who can, let's say, not exactly predict the future, but sooner or later, even the cause and effect becomes very simple to see, but sometimes you freaking fucking see what's gonna happen in advance. And it's not really fun to be able to just sit by and let other people figure it out 4 years later when it's kind of too late. So yeah, sounds like a call. Yeah, that's the one thing that I've always been asking myself. What would have happened? Would I become kind of like a cult personality? And I think it could be easy. So yeah, that's why I have spent a lot of my time learning the principle of no masters and no slaves. So I don't want people to believe me and trust me and follow me and whatnot and take my words for the truth and for the granted, because everyone has got the same capacity and the same ability to tap into the what is already known and into the unknown. Like, there's nothing special about this kind of stuff. There's nothing special about being able to sort of see or predict the future. Maybe just some of us are born more open to that stuff and less filtered because nobody was indoctrinating us with opposites. So, cults begin with people who say, in order to find the truth, you must follow me. I'm one of the people who will say, in order to find the truth, you must only follow all of your own beliefs and question them every day. So it's really what we live now, in a sense of the system and the society. That's like a cult to me. When people just, I don't know, even from quite obvious from my most watched video, a lot of people just quickly read the title and they think they've already gotten the subject and the message of what the person is saying on there. Um, so in the same way, a lot of people are actually pushing through their life. They're getting inundated with very, very superficial information, which could be actually underneath the title completely different. So that's what I like to do. I like to play with words and I like to play with this kind of stuff because I see that people need to be poked a little bit from the negative so that they can react, and then their attention span stays there a little bit longer if it's funny. So I know that I'm trying. Like, really, all my content is completely spontaneous. Well, I just got a big head. um, yeah, wordplay is definitely fun. And there was uh, quite quite a few years ago. I think it was 2013, maybe 2012. I wrote a funny article with the title "It's Your Fault." It was in Slovenian language, of course, but the whole article was completely positive. It was all about taking accountability for yourself and your thoughts and your actions, and realizing that the more you are in kind of, let's say, Zen mode, it's not about positive. The more you're in the state of flow, the easier it is to really create the kind of life you want. Um, and that also, and that, and if we want as humanity to see a better future, that we need to connect, collaborate, work together, and all this kind of stuff. So it was an extremely positive article. But I wrote it before with a different title, and it got, I think, maybe like 100 clicks or so. And when I used the title, "It's Your Fault," nothing else, just "Your Fault," couple of exclamation marks, that thing got viral. For Slovenian standards, it was viral. So yeah, I've learned a long time ago at least one trick to get some attention from people. But then YouTube has this funny, or most of the social media now has this funny short format, and that really has killed it because most, for the large part, what, I think it's a 3 minute video. A large majority of people have watched it for about 30 to 40 seconds. So that means that they basically stop watching just at the point where it gets most interesting. Mhm. Yeah, well, flow like water. Funny fact, yeah, we're more than 75% made of water. Frequencies, including the frequencies we generate from the inside. How all of that influences the state of the water in our body. That's also another long subject. Anyway, I think for my second YouTube year, I must say, if I look a little bit retrospective into it, what started it, how I started it, that's still on the same principle. So exactly the discussions and stuff we're having tonight, um, that was on my mind for sure. Did I want to talk so much about my personal life and narcissism and things like that? For sure not, because that still was not exactly a concept in my life at that point, and I did not realize still completely what I'm going through and what will follow. Um, so that's basically one of those side quests that happened on this channel. Um, the most unexpected thing is definitely the sudden growth in the last couple of months. That's definitely beyond my expectations. I'm extremely grateful also for all the support, like from you, Melissa, from my buddy Tuan. There's also Julia. Thank you for your comment. Um, I must give a good shout out to Perry Smith. She sent me a little bit of cash. It really helped at that point. Another guy, I cannot really remember his YouTube handle, so I'm not gonna give the names. Also the same. So there were a couple of donations that really helped me. Um, a couple of them on GoFundMe, a couple of them directly to my account. I literally the last 6 weeks and stuff had more food, paid a couple of bills, was able to stay in a harbor for a couple of weeks more because of all that. So it felt like little money, I guess, to everyone and to me as well, but in a sense of how much it's helped me to stay stable as possible through this time. It's really just amazing. Things are improving a little bit with income and stuff. So, I mean, I just managed to finally get a tiny bit of increase on that. Um, and at least energy wise, even though it's still this recent stress has kind of gotten to me a bit. I can see that I'm gonna get back on my feet soon to feel like I wanna, work more regular. It's not that I don't want to work, basically, but my body can't, just doesn't let me stay physically active for too much, for too long. Um, but as you can see from some of the pictures, my muscle poses that I'm at least staying active when it comes to trying to stay healthy and active for myself. So yeah, really, this has helped a lot, one way or another, even though I'm not basically trying to make any money through YouTube and stuff. I still do intend to put a couple of things so that I'm not effectively, like some people like to say it, begging for money. I'm gonna create a couple of designs and stuff for the t-shirts and hoodies and put that on my website. So whoever will have, I don't know, around 20 bucks or so to spare and get themselves something cool to look to put on themselves, designed by me. Um, I'm not exactly a designer, but I have a couple of ideas. I will appreciate that a lot more than GoFundMe donations and all that stuff, because at least it feels like I did some work and you get something in return. Um, so yeah, this is basically that surprise, an announcement that yeah, my website is gonna now become more live. You can also, if you want to communicate with me more personally or privately, of course, I would appreciate no the dick pics and not too many crazy things. But you know, if anybody also needs help, because in terms of self-help and the deep dive into psychology and all of that stuff I've been through in my life, I think I can provide a lot of help, wisdom, and experience to people. So yeah, I'm available. Email is now there. It's published on my details on the YouTube. You can use it. Send an email to me if you need anything. Um, for most of the people, I can say it's simple as that. Like, I know that a lot of us can't really afford even basic stuff such as enough of food and shit. It's hard times for all of us. So I'm not the guy who says how much my hour costs for my family and my friends, and all of you are basically a family. Um, so if anybody needs help, first I'll help you, and if you are able to afford or whatever you want to give or send me, that's always gonna be well accepted. But I don't put a price tag on my calling by God, if so to speak. So now I can't see what exactly it says here because of how the YouTube. Okay. When you're in the dark, sometimes you think you're buried, but really you're planted. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, and also, as some like to say, yeah, the precious gems and stones are built under the pressure. But I will say that at some point, like all of us humans deserve also to have some rest and joy and happiness and stuff. You cannot have constant and continuous pressure in life. And for one part, the, what I've been through is going through most of the darkest and most difficult moments in my life, especially the past 2 years, completely alone. I don't think that's just not human and not what anyone should have been going through. Like the other day, I was even thinking how my dad was told when I was 13 and we got evicted, and he was told that he would basically follow us in another car, which was a complete lie. Basically, everyone, myself and the family and the social workers, we all knew that that's gonna happen. So we lied to him, but yeah, he was a violent person, mentally definitely in need of help. And funny enough, even though he was in a hospital twice, they let him out in a week, within a week, saying that everything's okay with him. So clearly, that competence with the mental health experts at that time was really not good as it could be or should be. Um, but now looking back at it, realizing, never mind how bad he was and how aggressive and stuff, just the fact that as a father, he wasn't really told that he's probably not gonna see his kids again, and for the most part, he hasn't seen. his daughters again. Um, Now knowing myself how much that fucking hurts, I looked back to that moment and realized how unfair that was. Even for the most broken and wounded, crazy people on this planet. So I think that when it comes to that, we should be a lot more considerate and compassionate to everyone, regardless of how angry they may be on the surface. So, so much about that darkness, yeah. Um, it's really uncool if people take someone's kids away and those people don't have a chance to say goodbye. And yeah, yeah, compassionate to everyone because regardless of how, all these narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths and people like that are broken and stuff, first of all, I'm pretty sure that deep down they also want to be feel normal and they want to feel like human and they want to feel just loved and be loved and love themselves. And it's just the fact that they can't. It's literally either you're born that way or the damage is beyond psychological. So that doesn't mean that they and ourselves we couldn't learn to live with each other because funny enough when you look at the statistics, when you look at the numbers and you put the spectrum of the complex B personality disorders or the antisocial personality disorders, um, that's actually about 1 in 10 people in the world. So gives you a lot to think about. Yeah, 10% of the human population is on the spectrum of antisocial personality disorders. So what? Would you want to just eliminate 10% of humanity, or would you want to try and find ways to consolidate with all that? A lot to think about because, for example, I definitely don't want to harm anyone who's hurt me in the past. I wish them help, healing, happiness, joy, and love because I've found how difficult that can be to achieve once you have been so hardly broken. So yeah, all I wish for all the people is to be more compassionate to themselves to begin with. If that's good, if that's anything else I wanted to say for this second anniversary. Anyway, mm, yeah, I think this compassion. I know Melissa, you removed the message, but I still had a quick glance into it. But this compassionate part is definitely important for the kids because breaking generational trauma starts with us being better parents to our children and not better parents than our parents were, but better parents than we can be on a daily basis. And that takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. So the only way we're gonna heal is that way. Um, Thanks, Melissa, and a few of you for watching and staying with me for so long. Um, Thanks especially 1,400 something, I think it was 440 at some point today, of subscribers for supporting me. Just really, I'm speechless still, even after quite a while now. And I'll do my best to keep delivering as much as I can. Tomorrow, I'm going to another harbor. Hopefully, if that works out, that will give me a lot of opportunity to start working more seriously on everything. And with that, actually be more there for other people instead of other people just helping me around, which is part of my dream come true. Good night, everyone. Stay compassionate, stay peaceful, love yourselves, love each other, and just do your better. Nobody needs to be the best, nobody needs to be perfect. Peace.